You've come to fight as free men. And free men you are.
Welcome once again, my fellow manipulators of digital fate. I'm Richie, this is Capricorn, and today we're back with another standard deck tech straight out of Tarkir Dragonstorm Standard. This one's called Unite the Clans, and this is the final version, the final fully evolved version of Human Tribal, I think. It's 4 colors, it's crazy, it uses some one-of copies of some ridiculous new Tarkir Dragonstorm cards, and it leans super heavily on Alesha and Honest Rutstein because I'm out of my mind and it's just crazy. And I'm gonna hurry up and get this intro done quick because I guess I got dinner? Is this supposed to be pizza? Is this supposed to be... I'm not eating this. This isn't... Somebody doesn't know how to cook. Well, anyway, we're going to break down the deck, and then we're going to get to the gameplay. Please like the video. It helps me get it out to so many more people and helps the channel grow. Subscribe if you're new so you never miss an upload. Spoiler season has begun for Final Fantasy proper, and tons of spoiler content is dropping all over the channel, so please look forward to that. I'll link some of that in the description and in the comments, so check that stuff out. Catch me live Monday through Friday over on Twitch. That's twitch.tv/quarantinecapricorn, because if I'm alive and I'm breathing, I'm there and I'm streaming. I don't know if I'm gonna be alive after eating this though, so I don't know. I guess come on over and find out. Let's check out the deck. So this deck is pretty wild. This is an evolution of my Human Tribal deck that I've been brewing for quite a while. The original version was Mardu. I've done a version that was 4 color like this before, but I think this is the absolute best, most evolved version of this deck. This one's called Unite the Clans. And the main cards at the core of the deck are Alesha, who laughs at fate, a 3-mana 2/2 first striker. When it attacks, it gets a counter, and you trigger the raid ability whenever you attack with something. At the end of your turn, if you attacked, you return a creature with mana value less than or equal to Alesha's power from your graveyard to the battlefield. So the idea is, as long as you have Alesha in play and you can keep her in play, you can keep attacking and keep bringing back every single creature even if they die in combat. We make this even crazier by using Guardian of New Benalia, a 2-mana 2/2 with Enlist. It can scry 2 when you swing while enlisted, and you can discard a card to give it indestructible until end of turn. So the idea is, not only can we keep this thing alive while it's swinging, but keeping it alive while it's swinging lets us trigger the raid ability on Alesha, and then whatever we discard to Guardian of New Benalia in order to give it indestructible, we just bring back with the raid trigger from Alesha. So it creates this crazy cycle where we keep discarding the thing that we want Alesha to pull out and put into play for free, so that we get free creatures into play every single turn. We get to swing with an indestructible creature every single turn, and Alesha potentially gets bigger and bigger every single turn as well if we can swing with her. The big trick here is we need to keep Alesha alive, but if we don't keep Alesha alive, we can also use Honest Rutstein. We also have 4 copies of this, a 3/2 for 3 mana in the colors of Golgari. When he enters, you get to return a creature card from your graveyard to your hand, and then he also gives all creature spells a 1 mana cost reduction, which is just insanely good gravy in this deck because there are a lot of creatures that have 1 colorless mana in their cost. But getting to cast the Honest Rutstein to bring back the Alesha so that we can replay the Alesha to keep bringing back other stuff is nuts. And we can use the Alesha to bring back the Rutstein, or use the Rutstein to bring back the Alesha, and just kind of keep things going. And originally I was thinking of not using a full playset of Honest Rutsteins, but I realized that you can just keep getting Honest Rutstein back with another Honest Rutstein, and then keep one in your hand while you keep one in play, so that in case your Alesha dies, you have one ready to go right away. And you can potentially get your Alesha back. So there's a lot of crazy cool loops you can kind of do with these cards. Starting at the bottom of the curve, we've got 4 Veteran Survivors. This is an easy 1-drop human. That's a 2/1 that lets us exile stuff from our opponent's graveyard. Being able to fit in Graveyard Exile into the main deck of this deck is so sweet, and we don't even have to, you know, stop our aggression or stop putting pressure on our opponent to do it. So we automatically just are sort of pre-sideboarded in best of one against decks like Omniscience and stuff like that, where they're utilizing their graveyard, which is awesome. We've also got one Kellan Planar Trailblazer because it's just too good not to run. We've got one 𝑇𝑒𝑟𝑟𝑎𝑛𝑐𝑒, which is the only non-human in the deck, but because some of our mana base involves Plaza of Heroes, and all of our non-tribal lands make white for some other cards we'll get to in a little bit, it is actually easy to include a copy of this, and it's another card that can help us protect our board. We've also got 2 Recruitment Officers, bringing us up to 8 1-drops, so that we can consistently play something on turn 1, because none of the lands in this deck enter tapped, which is part of what makes it so crazy. A 4-color aggro deck with no tapped lands is just nuts. And Recruitment Officer gives us a little bit of extra gas later on in the game, a mana sink, so we can find more creatures, maybe even find the Alesha or the Rutstein to just keep things popping off. Moving on to the 2-drop slot, we have one copy of Jirina. This is the one card in the deck that I'm tempted to go up to more copies of because it's so insane. If you can keep Jirina on the battlefield with an Alesha, you can keep sacrificing Jirina to keep Alesha and everything else alive, and then Alesha can just keep bringing back the Jirina, and you can just rinse and repeat, and your opponent has a very difficult time dealing with your board state. That being said, we are in 4 colors. We did want to experiment with some other cards. We're absolutely going to at least run the 1 copy, but for this version of the deck, we're sticking to just 1 copy. We've also got 4 copies of Sheltered by Ghosts, the absolute best removal in a deck like this that puts a ton of pressure on the opponent, because it also gives us the ability to protect our creatures with Ward 2, buff them up, give them lifelink. This thing just does everything we want, but it also gets rid of problematic permanents that might allow our opponent to just outvalue us and win the game before we can get there. Shelter by Ghosts is amazing, so we absolutely run this as our removal. And because this is a non-human card, that's why we need most of our mana, anything that's not a tribal land, to be making white, because all of the cards in this deck that aren't a human creature are white. That way we can slant our mana base towards white other than the tribal lands and be able to play cards like this consistently. So in a way, it's kind of a mono white deck, even though it's a 4-color deck. You have to sort of treat it like it's a mono white deck when it comes to anything that's not a human, basically. And going even further with that, we have 3 copies of Invasion of Gobakhan. We can actually mess up them curving out when we first play it, and then we can very easily flip this since the deck wants to attack every single turn because of Alesha and because of the protection with Guardian and stuff like that. We have a very easy time flipping Invasion of Gobakhan anyway, and then once we do, our whole team's getting bigger every single turn with Light Shield Array, and we have another way to protect our whole board and protect our Alesha when this thing is flipped over, which is amazing. We've also got 4 copies of Coppercoat Vanguard. It's one of the reasons we're going so deep into Human Tribal. This is just one of the best Human Tribal cards you can run. 2 mana 2/2, gives all of your humans +1/+0 in Ward 1, helps protect your board, helps go the distance, and we can just keep bringing it back with Alesha, so it's pretty nuts. We're also running 1 copy of Cathar Commando. This is another card that I was tempted to run more copies of, but I think at least having 1 is really good. If you happen to get it, you can just keep sacrificing it to destroy an artifact or enchantment over and over and over again, and keep getting it back with Alesha. So against certain decks, like synthesizer decks and stuff like that, getting that Cathar Commando can be key and allow you to just keep taking out every synthesizer or any artifact that you need to, or any enchantment for that matter, and it can be really crazy. Again, this is another card that I want to add more of if I could, but there's just so many cards that want a home in this deck. I think we absolutely have to run at least 1, but we don't necessarily have to run the full 4. Moving on to the 3-drop slot, in addition to the Aleshas and the Honest Rutsteins, we've got 1 𝕊�𝑒𝑟𝑟𝑎𝑛𝑐𝑒 𝑅𝑜𝑟𝑏𝑎𝑐ℎ, which is kind of nuts. 3 mana 3/3 trample. When it enters, we can sack something, usually something that we're just going to get back with Alesha or maybe Honest Rutstein, and we put a +1/+1 counter on everything. That +1/+1 counter can make Alesha stronger so that she can bring back a bigger creature, and also whenever 𝕊𝑒𝑟𝑟𝑎𝑛𝑐𝑒 attacks, we get to keep doing it. And because Alesha's bringing back something every single turn with Raid, it's actually a lot easier for us to sacrifice things to 𝐻𝑢𝑚𝐴𝑟 when we attack every single turn to get those counters, because we can just keep bringing it back. So perfect inclusion here, and one of the new cards from Tarkir Dragonstorm. We've also got Anim Pakal, just an amazing human, gonna fill up our board like crazy early on, and we can just keep bringing it back. We've got one copy of Kellan the Fae-Blooded, and this might seem like a weird inclusion at first, but the main reason we're running this is for Birthright Boon. For 2 mana and Adventure, we can search for an aura or equipment and put it into our hand. So in a way, it's sort of like a 5th copy of Sheltered by Ghosts. We can use the Birthright Boon to find like one of the best cards in the deck, remove whatever we need to, and then still play Kellan from exile, and it comes into play, and it's another human that adds to our human synergies. So really, really strong. Moving on to the 4-drop slots, we've got one Mardu Siegebreaker, because it just seems nuts as a way to protect our Alesha. We still get the Alesha triggers every turn before the token copy would die, and we get to kind of protect it, because if they play a sweeper, the Mardu Siegebreaker will die, and the original Alesha will come back, and it won't be dead. So it kind of lets us still continue to use the Alesha's raid ability every single turn, while protecting the Alesha from sweepers, which I think is really cool. We could also target the Honest Rutstein with it, so that we can bring back another creature to our hand every single turn, because we're making a new token copy of Rutstein every single turn when the Siegebreaker is out. And then if they kill the Siegebreaker, the Rutstein comes back into play and can just put the Siegebreaker back in our hand, which I think is really awesome. We've also got one copy of Thalia and the Gitrog monster. You get this baby down and it is lights out. It makes it so hard for our opponent. All their non-basic lands enter tapped, all their creatures enter tapped, makes it hard for them to block. They can't use their haste creatures. Just so much value. You can also play an additional land, which usually doesn't matter, but it is some nice extra value. And whenever it attacks, you can sack a creature or land and draw a card. And again, sacrificing things in this deck is pretty easy to pull off, because we can just keep bringing those things back with Alesha. So Thalia is just some insane late game value for those games that do drag out just a little bit longer. And then the last card here is Yathan Roadwatcher, a 4-mana 3/3. It is a human, and when it enters, if you cast it, you mill 4 cards, and then return a creature card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. This is another card. This and the Mardu Siegebreaker are cards that I wish I could add more copies, but it honestly just makes more sense to keep this deck low to the ground. That being said, I do think it's worth messing around with one copy of each, because there is just a ton of synergy to be had, and being able to not only mill 4 cards to set yourself up with things in the graveyard to get back with Alesha and Honest Rutstein, but also just immediately bring something back. It's perfect if you've been riding an Alesha and then they finally find a way to get rid of it and kill it. Then you drop the Yathan Roadwatcher, and it puts the 3-drop directly back into play. You still get to trigger raid that same turn, which will put another thing directly back into play, and just puts an insane amount of value back on the field. It's just that perfect follow-up card to if they finally deal with Alesha, but it has so many other things you can use it with. And again, the fact that you're milling cards as well means you're just putting more things in the graveyard to fuel future Alesha triggers, or potentially something to get back with an Honest Rutstein. So I think Yathan Roadwatcher is absolutely worth including, and in future versions we might even run more than one copy of this. But for this version, it just made sense to me to try to keep the deck as low to the ground as we can, while also experimenting with some single copies of some of these new cards, because I think they do add a lot of value to the deck. We've also got 4 copies of Cavern of Souls and 3 Secluded Courtyards. We name humans, and that gives us whatever color mana that we need. And that's part of why this deck works so well. I don't think this deck could work without these lands, but we're able to run this almost like it's a mono-colored aggro deck, just because the lands are so good and everything's a human. We've also got 2 Plaza of Heroes. We've got some extra value with the Plaza of Heroes and being able to protect our legendary creatures if we need to. So that's pretty nice. All in all, the deck is kind of nuts, and I think it might be the best version of Human Tribal going forward. And if you underestimate this deck, you're crazy, because it's honestly insane, and I feel like it should be played more on the ladder, because I feel like the deck is just that good, but I don't really see it anywhere. That being said, the deck worked super well for us. We ranked up a bunch, and we barely lost. But don't take my word for it. Let's check out the games. I think this is okay. We can Skrelv on 1, Guardian on 2. Super protection. Seems fine. Could also just Recruitment Officer on 1 to keep him from swinging him with the Vanguard. But this is probably better. Human. Guardian. Pass the turn. Come at me, bro. That was silly. You're silly. Let's discard you. My turn. It's my turn. My turn or the high turn. Part of me wants to play Anim and Pakal. Part of me wants to use Kellan to find a Sheltered by Ghosts. I think I could probably do that next turn, though. Let's just get in there, create some value. Don't do it! Are you crazy? You are crazy, man. You are out of your gourd. You are absolutely out of your gourd, Wagga. Oh, 420. Now I understand. Now I understand. You can get in for 3 if you want. Plaza. Birthright Boon. Give me that Sheltered. And then we play the Sheltered on the Guardian. Eat the parent. Cancel. Next to combat, we will enlist this guy. We do not need the land, but we will absolutely take the Rutstein. It's going to block the 6-2. We go up to 19, hit him with our 2 guys, and the turn. Protecting our board state with our Skrelv. Yeah, we're sitting pretty. We are sitting so pretty. He does have a Rabo, which is not nothing. Sure, swing for 4. I don't know if that was correct, though. I think that needed to stay back as a blocker. Pretty sure. We'll Rutstein. We will Recruitment Officer. We will keep the Inspiring Vantage in our hand for Guardian. And we will move to combat. We will enlist here. No more lands. Thank you very much. Let's scry those away. Alright, let's see what the opponent does. Try to double block my Guardian. He could. Would be a mistake. Alright, discard the Inspiring Vantage. And the turn. Now we have the world's biggest board. Darkwing Duck. When there's trouble, you call DW. Let's get dangerous. This looks good. We can keep it. We're probably gonna Cathar Commando on too. We've got all the colors we need for Thalia and the Gitrog on 4. We do not have the red yet. Well, I guess we've got Secluded Courtyard, so we do. Never mind. Ignore me. We'll start with the Cathar Commando. We don't really want to drop the Coppercoat Vanguard until it has something to protect and buff up. But I mean, Coppercoat Vanguard and Veteran Survivor next turn isn't super bad. So we'll go human. And now, all we need is one land and we can drop either of these. And even if he kills one of our dudes, we can still put the Sheltered by Ghosts on the other one. River Churn Monument. Okay, we're going to have to be as aggressive as possible here. We got to go for the throat. We've got an Assassin's Trophy. So I guess we do that. We flip this and we swing here. And then we use the Invasion to protect our board as the Light Shield Array. Exile the Cut Down. You can't cast the Assassin's Trophy and the Go for the Throat in the same turn anymore, which is kind of huge. Now you're just getting crazy, Mandarin. Now you're just getting crazy. I'll dungeon lurker. I'll dungeon lurker. Are you going for the throat, sir? If we top deck a land, we're going to be in a really good spot. But even if we don't, I think we're in a pretty good spot. We're going to make it so that he can't hit the Veteran Survivor with his removal. He just can't. And then we swing for 8, he's down to 10, we have lethal next turn. And he also kind of has to kill the Veteran Survivor this turn, because if it eats one more card, it just gets hexproof. Kind of needs a sweeper. I don't know if he has it. The last card could be another Assassin's Trophy. Sure. Oh, we've got no basics. Bummer. We do still have Ward 2 there, though. And I just don't think it's enough. Just don't think it's enough. Just you. Play out the Guardian just in case. This thing's got hexproof now. He needs a sweeper. But if he sweeps, we give the Guardian indestructible. Alright. We'll take it. This hand looks pretty decent. We don't have the majority of our payoffs yet, but I think we have time to get there, so let's keep 7. We're going to drop Cavern of Souls, naming human on 1. Drop that Kellan. We have some interesting options here. If we don't get our 3rd land drop, it might be worth it to level up Kellan just to exile another card from the top of our deck and be able to potentially dig into our lands. But we probably want to wait until next turn to do that. let's since we're up against blue, let's drop an invasion. Make sure they don't have anything in their hand that's going to mess with our ability to curve out properly. And our opponent doesn't want to play the game, apparently. Hello, sir. Thank you. Flood mommy. That's fine. That's fine. Bolt, give. We'll get rid of the talent, I guess. Make it so that he can't curve out the way he wants to. Quarry Steel Cutter. Alright, well, we do have our Inspiring Vantage. So we'll go Kellan. And, do we want to just exile the Quarry Steel Cutter now? I think we do. We don't give him any value, and we also make it really hard for him to kill the Kellan, and then we can flip the Gobakhan next turn because we have the extra point of power. Just makes sense to me. The Virtuous, sure. Alright, he's just gonna scoop it up. We'll take it, I guess. We've got lands, we've got cards, we're keeping it. Win, lose, or draw, this is it, baby. We've only lost once with this deck so far. It's pretty wild. We're going to start with Inspiring Vantage. Make sure our fast lands come into play untapped. It's not that he isn't a fan of Darkwing Duck. It's that he hears duck and he thinks he gets to go hunting. That's what it is. Carrot cake. Alright. I'll give you the carrot cake. That's fine. We're gonna go human. I kinda want to Gobakhan because he probably has a caretaker's talent he wants to play next turn. And I'm not as worried about getting this out. You know what? I'm gonna do it. Oh, he didn't even have one. He's got a 𝐻𝕃𝐻𝑢𝑚𝑎𝑐ℎ. Let's make that expensive. I kind of don't even mind that. I think I would have rather played the Guardian there. Oh, he top decked another one. That's pretty good. That is pretty good, not gonna lie. Darkwing Duck. All of his boys are so big. He's so proud of himself right now. He pulled off his combo. His super happy combo. Well, we'll just play out the Guardian. Pass. Next turn we can play Rutstein into Coppercoat Vanguard because of the cost reduction Rutstein will give us. Which is pretty good. Of course, if we have to keep Guardian alive, we could discard the Coppercoat Vanguard and then attack with it next turn, play Alesha, and get it onto the battlefield that way. He's going to sack one of them. Make them all really big. Unfortunately, this guy has trample, so we have to block here, which feels very wasteful. It feels very, very wasteful. I still think it might be better to just Rutstein Coppercoat Vanguard. Or, no, you know what? I know what we're doing. I know what we're doing. Human. So crazy. We want him to block. Block. Do it. Do it, old maid. No? Alright, post-combat. Play a Roadwatcher. Get back Alesha. And since we did mill a Guardian, we're just gonna let Alesha trigger and bring the Guardian back. But we could have discarded the Coppercoat Vanguard to the other Guardian if we didn't hit a 2-drop to bring back with Alesha. Something worth noting. The biggest problem, though, is that 𝐿𝐿𝐼 having trample. It's definitely rough. Everything getting big. So Alesha can only block one of the 2/2s. That's just it. I assume he sacrifices the Novice Inspector to buff everybody up, and then she can't block one of the 2/2s. Which is unfortunate. But we might still have to anyway. Honestly, it's a lot of damage coming through. We can't block the 𝐿𝐿𝐼 because of the trample. Yeah, he's swinging with everything. He's gonna sack something. Give them all counters. Yeah, I think we're just dead. Can't block the trample. Yeah, if we can't block the trample, then we're just dead, right? We just take 10. We just take 10. Which is very unfortunate. It is what it is. It happens sometimes. It's a really cool deck, though. I think I might build a version of that. This hand looks pretty decent. We've got plenty of 2-drops. We've got an Alesha for turn 3 if we can just dig into a land. So we're going to keep it. We'll start with the Inspiring Vantage. And I don't know if we want to play the Gobakhan or the Cathar Commando next turn. Probably the Cathar Commando. Let's wait and flash that in. That sets us up for the ability to play Gobakhan next turn and then immediately swing with the Commando to flip the Gobakhan. Alright, there's another land. We're gonna go human. So many options here. So many options. I don't even know. I guess we'll still go Gobakhan. It's a really good opportunity to make this work for us. Spell Stutter, sure. We'll swing in. It's not the most mana efficient play that we could do, but it does line things up the way, I mean, if it had landed the way we would have needed it. I don't think we want to drop Alesha yet. I think what we want to do is drop 𝐿𝐿𝐼 even though we're not sacrificing anything. Alright, it's going to unsummon it. That's fine. He's just delaying the inevitable at this point. I mean, I still think we want to play the 𝐂𝐿𝐼, honestly. We want to save both of our 2-drops to potentially play alongside our Alesha next turn. We definitely want to wait to drop the Alesha the turn that it's going to trigger. So we want to have another creature out that can attack first. Otherwise, he just has an entire turn cycle to kill Alesha, and we don't get any value off of it. And I don't think we want that. We're going to start by playing Coppercoat Vanguard. He's going to counter it. That's kind of perfect, to be honest. We get to attack with 𝐂𝐿𝐼 now. Decline. And then play Alesha and get back some gas. Coppercoat Vanguard. So now everything's got Ward 1. You can still kill our stuff, but it's going to be a lot harder. It's going to mess with his tempo. Thanks so much for checking out my channel. I'd like to give a huge shout out to all of my patrons over at Patreon. Without you guys, this channel would not be possible, so honestly, thank you from the bottom of my heart for all of your contributions. If you haven't yet, like and subscribe. The more likes we get and the quicker we get them, the bigger this channel will grow and the faster it will grow. I'd love nothing more than this channel to become something very special for you guys, but it's entirely up to you how fast that happens. Also, if you'd like more deck text, that's somewhere over there. And if you'd like to see what else the channel's been up to lately, that's somewhere up that way. Also, subscribe, circle below, do all the things.